Eric, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you today.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. I absolutely love talking about health and wellness and fitness and really just living a better life because I feel, and I'm sure you would agree with this, is the more mobile we are, the more active we are, the more we're outdoors doing things. I feel like we're happier and more fulfilled in life. It just kind of adds up that way, that type of balance. So I want to jump in the conversation and really talk about this. And I think really a good framework for our conversation, especially being the Just Get Started podcast, is around transformation and how we can go from where we're at today, if we're stuck, if we're not happy, if we're maybe out of shape, to going into a better path forward and really transforming our lives. And I thought maybe it'd be fun if you start with your transformation story, which I thought was really unique. And doing some research, I thought it'd be fun maybe to start with the book Never Eat Alone. It seemed like this book was like the changing point for you back when you were about 27. Can you start and share your journey a little bit to transformation, and that'll kind of dovetail us into a deeper conversation?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up playing sports in high school. I played basketball. I wanted to be Michael Jordan when I grew up.
Yeah.
I had friends come over to my parents' house every single night to play basketball. So, kind of the community oriented side of what I do now started back when I was just a kid. I'm an only child. So, I had to create my own community and I had to bring people into my circle because I didn't grow up with brothers and sisters. And in college, I got pretty into partying. And every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, I was at the bars. And that was how I had fun in college, like I think many in their late teens and early 20s.
Mhm.
Um, my first career was property and casualty insurance. I was driving 50,000 miles a year, sitting in a car a lot. And I didn't have any education around healthy eating, functional exercise. I always thought that, exercise was to achieve this aesthetic and that, eating was for pleasure, try and just eat things where you're full at the end of the meal. I was eating Subway all the time and I was eating McDonald's in the mornings. And, fast forward from 21 years old to 27, 28 years old, I got pretty out of shape from, not eating healthy, from sitting a lot. And I was still going to the gym, but it was very vanity based. I was going maybe 3 days a week and I was doing bench press and bicep curls and, just like the show muscles. So at 28, I decided to hire a personal trainer. I wanted to get back into aesthetically good looking shape. So I committed to a 6 month package, 5 days a week, 30-minute sessions. And I was going every single day at 6 a.m. to train with this personal trainer. So over that 6 month period, I really started to transform my body. But more importantly, I started to correlate exercise with how great I was feeling. And so many other decisions were affected by that higher volume of training than I was used to. And
Mhm.
the training also was CrossFit before I knew what CrossFit was. I
Okay.
was lifting moderately heavy weights, and I was also doing a lot of anaerobic conditioning, row intervals, run intervals. I was doing complex movements like back squats, front squats, thrusters, overhead pressing, bench press, deadlifts. So it was a different way of working out than I was used to. But having to get up at 6 a.m., I was going to bed much earlier than I was used to. I was eating healthier. I was getting better sleep. So a lot of these other changes happened because of exercising consistently. And I started to recognize the massive mood boost that I was getting after all of those workouts.
Mhm.
I started to recognize just how clear I was, that my mind was really sharp after those workouts. And I also started to recognize that my energy levels were super high. I didn't have a lull in the afternoons anymore. I just had a very continuous high energy level.
Mhm.
And then from there, I got into triathlon. So then I started mixing the strength training, anaerobic conditioning with longer endurance sessions. And, really during that time period, I became obsessed with health and wellness, where, I went from, just training 5 days a week with a personal trainer to towing the line at the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii with the best triathletes in the world. And, this is just literally a 3 year period of being an out of shape insurance salesman to
Mhm.
getting to the Ironman World Championship. So it's pretty crazy, when you're really dedicated to something and you really, base your lifestyle around something and say no to so many other things. like how far you can take whatever it is you want to do. If you want to build a big business, if you want to be the most amazing father in the world, like all of these just are kind of dedication, to the daily execution. And now the way I live my life is, based around that same principle of wellness is prioritized. I already got my morning workout in. I was at the CrossFit gym for
Hmm.
about 90 minutes this morning. I'm going to mountain bike after this podcast for 75 minutes. I'm going to do contrast therapy tonight, which is going from a hot sauna into my ice barrel. I'm going to have eggs and chicken sausage, fruit and honey for breakfast. I'm going to have a pound of meat, rice, potatoes for dinner tonight. So, now a lot of the stuff is just on autopilot where my day is designed around wellness. And it's not to have this crazy level of performance. It's not for the competition side of things. It's not even for the aesthetic anymore. It's just for the feeling. I want to feel damn good day in and day out. I want to be mentally on. I want to have high energy levels all day. I want to feel good emotionally. I want to eliminate stress from my life. And, that's so much of why I do what I do now. And community is a huge part of my life. Within this, I'm doing it with others. I'm working out with others. I have people come to the house every single night to do contrast therapy. All of my meetings with new people happen in saunas. So, I've kind of designed business and pleasure to coincide.
Oh man, I love that. There's a lot to dig into there. I like the it might be a shirt. Feel damn good. That might be a good shirt to make.
That's right.
I want to go.
No free dopamine.
Yeah,
That's what I've been living by lately. No free dopamine,
yeah,
or dopamine with no consequences. Like earn your dopamine.
I like that. Let's go all the way back because I think a question that a lot of folks may be thinking or considering is, okay, you're this insurance salesman, you're 27, 28, you're out of shape. To commit 6 months to personal training, that is a massive step, right? To go from that bridge or jumping over that. What were some of the smaller moments in that decision? Did something happen in your life? Like, what was the reason to make that commitment? Because I personally believe the commitment to change is where a lot of folks miss. They say they want to change. We hear it all day, every day. Oh, yeah, I want to change. But it's the commitment to change is where a lot
Yeah.
of folks get stuck. Can you share a little bit more? Like, how did you actually get to signing up? Like, what were the reasons behind that?
I mean, I really, looking in the mirror, I didn't look great. And, I was used to being lean in high school and college. So, that was one of the deciding factors. And I also just didn't feel like I was thriving anymore. I felt like I was just kind of going through the motions of life, that I was living for the public perception of success.
Mhm.
I wasn't really all that stoked anymore, waking up in the mornings. I really was just going through the motions. So I felt like I needed to switch things up. And I agree with you that committing is by far the hardest part. And then second to that, I kind of have these two little rules, the 15-minute rule and the 6-month rule. I feel like it takes about 15 minutes to drop into anything, whether it's a conversation, a work task, a yoga session, a mountain bike ride, a run. I know that for the first 15 minutes, I might not be that into it, but after 15 minutes, I can usually drop into whatever it is I'm doing.
Mhm.
So, that was one of the reasons for at least the 30-minute training sessions each day. And then the 6-month rule of it generally takes me at least 6 months to get to a state where I feel flow with it, because you need a certain level of expertise in anything to start seeing some progress. And for me, let's say with mountain biking, it took about 6 months to get to this point where I really started to have some rapid progression. The first couple months are usually frustrating where you're a beginner in whatever it is you're trying to do. So it's difficult to like really drop into it. Months 3 and 4, you start seeing a little bit of progress, but I feel like 4, 5, 6 is when, that progression curve starts to get really steep. And, that's when you're like, oh, wow, like this is working, that zone 2 heart rate running I've been doing for the last 5 months, like all of a sudden now I really see my pace dropping tremendously and my heart rate going down. Like I'm into it. I'm going to keep doing this because I see progress. So I like that 6-month rule of,
Mhm.
commit to 15 minutes for whatever it is, and then commit to 6 months if you want to really drop in and start to see major progression in whatever it is you're doing. But yeah, ultimately for me, it was the aesthetic. I just didn't look. I didn't like what I was seeing, and I'm sure a lot of that was ego. But what kept me coming back was the feeling. Was I feel so damn good. I was able to strip my ego away from it, and I just got such tremendous fulfillment from it. And I think that's key to longevity in anything. If you're just chasing the gold medal, the finish line, the big events, like, a lot of times that can lead to burnout. But if you're doing something that you can replicate day in and day out, and you find tremendous fulfillment in it, like, I look forward to 98% of my gym workouts. I look forward to 98% of my mountain bike rides. I look forward to the things I do. I think that's really important if you want to really make it a lifestyle.
Yeah. And you make a great point because I think, and I do CrossFit. It's been about 6.5 years now, and I absolutely love it. I love the community. I love the workouts. They're hard. As you know, you want to quit literally after every workout and say, I never come back. And then you come back the next day because you just love it so much. Right. And you want to push yourself. But, I know there's folks out there that struggle with that, but if they it doesn't have to be the mundane, like you're saying, go to the gym, do some, bicep curls. Go outside and be active. Go run around the block. Go play soccer. Go do pickleball. It doesn't matter. Like, being active could be a lot of different things. Don't you agree? You don't have to do the old school way of just going to the gym and pumping iron.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, mountain biking is probably my favorite thing I do. I just feel like I'm in this arcade game in Colorado, weaving through the trees, and it's so much fun. So, yeah, I think that some of the keys for that are, do you enjoy it? And it doesn't have to be like my CrossFit workouts hurt in the moment, but I still enjoy it. I know how good I'm going to feel afterwards. And I know the sense of satisfaction that I'm going to get from doing that hard workout. Same with, a 90-minute ride or a 2-hour ride. Like, there's a sense of progress and satisfaction from doing it. And also, like, what is accessible to you and what can you do with others? I think all of those are really important. Pickleball, like, pickleball has really exploded because, it's fairly easy to pick up over a 6-month period. You can do it with other people. A lot of pickleball courts are outside, so you're in nature, getting sunlight. So yeah, find something that you enjoy, find something that is accessible to you, that, is easy for you to weave into your life, and, find something where you can meet like-minded people and you can have relationships with people, because I think that's one of the most overlooked forms of wellness, is having incredible friendships and relationships.
Hmm. You mentioned something earlier that I think is also a key point. I'd love for you to go deeper on. Is you mentioned about removing things or changing, your schedule, right? If you're going to work out more or you're trying to build new relationships, ultimately you might have to say no to other things. Can you share a little bit more about, and really at the beginning, how you decided to remove things? Because I know there's a lot of friction there of like, this is the way I've always done it. Like, how do you get rid of going to the bars 3 days a week, to not doing that anymore? Can you share some of the hurdles you jumped in terms of changing that lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, my commitments changed. I started committing to 2 and 3 hour rides on the weekends and long runs on the weekends. So, I wasn't able to go out anymore and drink, because that would massively affect my commitment to get a 3 hour ride in at 7 a.m. the next day.
Mhm.
Getting enough sleep,
Right.
going to bed earlier, like, just all of these commitments that I made to others forced me to make other positive decisions in my life. And then ultimately it got to a place where I became obsessed with getting to the Ironman World Championships. And I literally put blinders on. And if it didn't align with my goals of getting to the Ironman World Championships, then I was saying no to it. We hear this often, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Obviously easier said than done, but I really did start to apply that to any things that were asked of me. Then I also made these lists. Like, I made lists of things I was doing at the time where I just felt like I was going through the motions, and I had said yes just to be a people pleaser. And, then I made a list of all of the things where I felt like I was really progressing by saying yes to those things. So yeah, I think it's important to be mindful. That's the key, is just being mindful. Are you just going through the motions, or are you doing things with purpose and intention to further yourself in whatever directions you want to go in life?
Let me ask a question, and we probably aren't gonna have enough time to go down this rabbit hole, but maybe maybe another time we could chat around the Ironman. So selfishly, I'm gonna ask this question because I did my first half marathon last year, and I'm signed up to do a marathon in November, and I have this goal potentially down the road to do an Ironman.
Yeah.
What would be, is that kind of the right gateway drug of like, get somewhat fit, do half marathon, do a full marathon, and then eventually go Ironman if I go, like, is that the right direction I'm in? And any tips or coaching you would give maybe to think about that over the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, some of the keys for me were starting small. It's like if you're going to run a marathon, you don't just go out and run a marathon. You run a mile, and then you run a 5K, and then 10K, and then a 15K. Um, so for me, I mean, I started with the personal trainer, and then I started biking, and then I started running, and then I signed up for a sprint distance triathlon. And then I joined a local triathlon club where I was doing sprint distance triathlons every Wednesday night throughout the summer. And then I signed up for an Olympic distance triathlon the next year. And then the year after that, I signed up for a half Ironman.
Mhm.
And then the year after that, I signed up for a full Ironman. So I progressed my way into it in a nice way where I didn't get injured at all during that time period. I certainly had some little aches and pains and things that were nagging, but no major injuries, no surgeries during that time period. And I really associate a lot of that with just like easing my way into it because I wasn't doing the same type of recovery protocol that I do now. Um, and having a coach was instrumental in me progressing in the sport because when I initially got into it, I came in with a CrossFit mentality, meaning I was just going hard. I thought that was the way to get fitter, was
Right.
just go harder. Every single time I was out there, I was trying to bike a little faster, I was trying to run a little faster. And, that might work for short anaerobic efforts. It, certainly
Mhm.
works for CrossFit, but it doesn't work for endurance sports. Endurance sports are all about building this massive aerobic engine and building massive durability. And that requires backing off a lot on the intensity so
Mm.
you can massively increase the volume. So by hiring a coach who almost fired me because I didn't listen to him for the first 3 months, he told me that he was going to fire me if I didn't start doing all of my training at below a 140 heart rate. So, a 140 heart rate for me at that time felt like a walk in the park. It just felt so damn easy because I was just used to doing everything at like a 165 or 170 heart
Mhm.
rate. But I wasn't really able to do much longer than 60 or 70-minute sessions because I was dead after
Mhm.
that time duration. So I finally listened to him. And, when I first started at a 140 heart rate, my run pace was probably an 830, 840 per mile. Fast forward 4 years of listening to him and doing that type of training, my run pace went down to about a 625 at a 129 heart rate, and it
Wow.
was just from massively increasing the volume because I was doing everything at a lower intensity. And I got to a point where like it didn't really feel very good to do above 140 because that meant a very fast run pace. Like my muscular endurance at that point was my weakness as opposed to my heart rate. But yeah, I mean, having a coach, the only way to fast track success is to surround yourself with people who've gotten where you want to go. And that coach was someone who he was beating me in longer distance triathlons, but I looked way fitter than him, and I beat him in any short distance triathlon.
Mm.
So I knew that he had the secret that I didn't have. So that's why I hired him. And once I hired him, I trained like a racehorse. I had the plan. I wanted to make sure that I just like stuck to the plan, and every single workout that he put into Training Peaks that would start as green, that I was turning red. I just hit every workout to a T. And yeah, I mean, that compounding consistency got me to the Ironman World Championships, but I would not have gotten there were it not for him and not following a plan.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm in that process right now because, like, we're recording this. I know in mid June is like I'm basically going to start training next month for um this early November marathon. So it's like I've thought about getting a coach because I'm like I don't know what I don't know. So it's like either just run and then grind it out, or to your point, actually have some structured plan because it is more than just showing up and just trying to run that. I think there is has to be something where you dial in your diet, dial in the right workout, the endurance, length, those type of things. So I agree with you. Let me go. I guess we'll side straddle this a little bit because we're talking about obviously, with a coach and assessing and whatever. I really like this quarterly review that you do. Can you share a little bit about that? Maybe why you started doing it and how that's been impactful, I guess, to keep on track with your goals.
Yeah. So, again, just going back to those lists that I used to make of am I on track living my life in a purposeful way, or am I just starting to go through the motions? And I mean, what that list looks like is activities where I am completely in the moment, conversations with people where I feel like I'm getting value and giving value. We're just in flow, environments where I am completely dropped in. I don't want to be anywhere else. Like writing down all of that on one side, like those are things I want to build my life around. And then on the other side, what are the conversations I had? What are, maybe some things I said yes to where I'm like, fuck, I wish I didn't say yes to that. Like, I'm not really into it. What are environments where I was wishing I was somewhere else? What are activities where I'm just not really into it anymore? And what are some of the activities I'm doing where I'm, wishing I was doing something else? Making those lists, again, just being mindful. I think it's so key to have some metrics for yourself around, am I thriving or am I going through the motions? Because, I feel like we kind of just ebb and flow through that. We change over time. We get to places where we're not really progressing anymore, or we just have said yes to too many things that are taking us away from things that we really would rather be doing. We're the victims of marketing, we're the victims of the public perception of success, we're the victims of capitalism. So, just recognizing these things on a regular basis. And again, just like am I defining my life, or am I not defining my life anymore?
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to is like, I mean, I think the start is that sitting and pondering, what do I really want? What do I
Mhm.
actually, because it goes back to your time. And I've been like this too with the vanity of like going to the gym. Like, do I just want to go to the gym just to kind of look like I have some muscles? Or do I actually want to feel good when I wake up in the morning? Do I want to be
Mhm.
energetic maybe around my kids? Whatever it ends up being. I think too many times, because I'm certainly at fault to this, but I've heard enough stories of folks not doing things they want. And then to your point, now they're saying yes to just random shit that's just like so away from what they want to do. Do you see that a lot with the folks you talk and work with? And it's that they actually haven't defined what they want. So really, there's no way to have a clear path if they don't have that to start, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very fortunate that many of the people I surround myself with and many in my friend group are living a life on their terms. Their, business intersects with their passions and their purpose, and their businesses are just extensions of their personal brand and what they enjoy doing. Um, but yeah, I mean, back in my 20s, for sure, being in Syracuse, New York, which is, a place that people are born and raised and just kind of stay there. um, it doesn't really attract a lot of risk takers, it doesn't attract a lot of transplants. So it's a different mindset in places like that compared to, say, in Austin, Texas, or a Denver, Colorado, where it's attracting a lot of risk takers. It's attracting people that moved because they felt like they had reached a ceiling, or they just weren't in the right pond wherever they grew up. So I think environment is really key to your reality, and it's really key to who you're going to be surrounded with. um, but again, yeah, I think it's just recognizing it. Am I around the people that really want me to thrive? Am I around people where I feel like I'm getting value and giving value? Am I around people that are allowing me to grow, that are pushing me?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't really tune into the news. I don't watch TV. I get the majority of any knowledge and learnings just from conversations with people just like this.
Yeah.
So, I think that is the best way to learn and grow, is just by having conversations with others. And, to do that in a good way, like, you need to find those communities where you can have those positive interactions with people.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to, I think I mentioned at the beginning, that book, Never Eat Alone, I think you talked about was impactful for you on your journey. Was that the catalyst, or was there something else? Like, I love that you do these like business meetings in your sauna, or, like that you always start your day with something like that, which is making you meet more people. Like, did that start when you got that personal training back in the late 20s, or was that another point?
I think the start of it, honestly, was as a kid, just like having people come over to my house to play
Mm,
basketball and ping pong and, just being in flow with them and then recognizing that I left them with this like fun memory of this fun basketball game in my backyard. So I think it dates back to that. And then, yeah, sure. When you listen to Andrew Huberman or you read a book, it's like reinforced. Oh, okay.
mm,
Now that makes sense. Someone more educated than me said why that is the way it is and why you get this rush of dopamine from it. So I think reading the book, listening to the podcast, like a lot of it is just reinforcement. But, for me, I've kind of been my own one man scientist of just
mm.
recognizing the benefit I got from something or recognizing the energy drain I got from something. And I mean, every single sauna session that I have with people, like I walk away from that energized and I walk away with that being like, damn, that was fun. Like, I can't wait to do that again tomorrow. So I think it's just recognizing those times in your life where you have that feeling and then building your life and designing your days around those things, those people, those activities, and then like making an environment so it makes it easy for you to do that. Like our backyard is a gym. Our backyard is this wellness oasis where we attract people. So it makes it easy to do it day in and day out.
Oh, that's awesome. But you got a whole CrossFit gym back there and stuff?
Yeah, if I could just turn my computer around, I'd show it to you. But we turfed 1,200 square feet of our backyard, put in some retaining walls. Our house is up on a hill with an amazing view of the mountains. And we put in a rig that has a rope climbs, ring muscle ups, 2 squat stations, bench press stations, 2 sets of pull up bars, bar muscle ups. We have a GHD machine. We have 3 assault bikes. We have 2 rowers. We have a ski erg, sandbags, barbells, plates, and then we have sauna, we have ice barrels. So yeah, it's just this like
Oh, geez.
oasis for wellness.
I got to come out to Denver and work out with you guys.
Yeah, you do. Please, open invite. Call
Oh,
it Muscle Mountain.
appreciate that. Well, but this is actually, I mean, maybe this is a good kind of loop to finish our conversation around the simplicity of starting. Now, you happen to have this whole opportunity right outside that you made the initiative, and I have a gym, not as much as that, but I have a gym in the garage to make it simple. It kind of goes back to James Clear book, Atomic Habits. Like if it's right there around you, if you have if you want to walk around the block, or hey, I'm going to do push-ups and air squats in the house, you don't have to go sign up for a gym. You don't have to do this long thing. I think the simplicity of starting is where folks always forget. Like, you don't have to do anything tremendously unbelievable. You just have to start, to your point, and just have that consistent path forward. Would you agree? Like, that is if you're trying to transform, start small, start simple, and just do it for an extended period of time, and you will have some success.
100%. It's way better to do 6 days of small compounding consistencies than, just trying to go out and run a marathon and, one day a week.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really just the daily execution that becomes habitual that leads to this, leads to a very different journey than, maybe decisions in another direction where you're drinking and getting shitty sleep and making poor eating decisions. Like, both of those compounded over 5 years just take you in 2 very different journeys. So yeah, I mean, where I am now is just a result of 15 years of every day doing very similar things in one direction.
Mm. Well, so this has been a really fun conversation. Let's end on this. I want to get your take. So what I always like to kind of wrap up the conversation around, because I think taking action, you talk about movement, is the most important thing to get started. So
Mhm.
what would be, and instead of advice, what would be a challenge or a question you would pose to someone, something where they could take action today in their life to get started? Anything you would share kind of as a lasting impression for them to go forward?
Yeah, I mean, movement is medicine is the moniker I live by, and that is definitely the top of the food pyramid for me. Is exercise. Exercise led me to healthier eating decisions. It led me to better sleep. It led me to my recovery protocols. It led me to amazing friendships. It led me to building communities, and ultimately has led me to amazing opportunities to build businesses around my passions. So, yeah, if exercise is not in your routine, and exercise can mean a million different things. It can mean pickleball, it can mean biking, it can mean running, it can mean CrossFit gyms. Just finding something that is accessible to you, that you enjoy, bonus points, if it's with people you enjoy being around, if you're meeting new people, like implement that into your life at least 3 or 4 days a week. And, it'll massively change your life for the better. It massively changed my life for the better.
Awesome. That's a good challenge for folks. Go figure out how to get the right, exercise in your body to move you. And ultimately, I think that fuels you to eat healthier and sleep because you're going to have to refuel for the next day. So that's a good maybe way to end this on. Eric, where can people say hello to you online? Where do you spend the most time?
Yeah, best place to reach me is Instagram. My name is Eric Hinman on Instagram. I have a newsletter. You can sign up for it at erichinman.com. But I answer DMs. I control my Instagram account. So I love chatting about this stuff and happy to help others.
Awesome, Eric. Thank you so much, man, for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Brian.